Hi, everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper with Crypto Mom 2 Talk Show, and I want to welcome everyone back to this episode. Definitely, I want to remind you to like and subscribe because there are many, many episodes that are in the queue that I haven't had a chance to release yet, and I want you all to stay up to date and informed. I recently came back from Dubai and the United Arab Emirates, and it was a wonderful trip. I learned a lot. Prior to my going away, though, I had scheduled a chat with a friend who's on right now. And as many of you know, I've been exploring blockchain and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and mining and all the other related topics for a number of years now. I have recently become certified as a cryptocurrency investigator because of my background in law and my wanting to support the community, both the idea of education, but also in terms of retrieval and recovery. So there are many, many good companies that are out there, but there are also some situations that sometimes occur. But I am learning from everyone. And today my guest is teaching me more about blockchain and the technology side. And his company has been around for many years and they're involved with many different clients. And so I'm going to pop over to him right now. And for those that are on the talk show side, all the links are going to be embedded within. I do recommend that you go over to the YouTube side so you can see some of the charts and the visuals that we're going to be sharing, because as always, we're all different types of learners, but I'm a visual learner. So I love to see the pictures so I can learn and it kind of stays with me farther. So welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me here today. And I've been so looking forward to this show. I've obviously been following, and we've been in touch. I know you had a great trip. We obviously did connect, and I think there's just great things happening in the Gulf right now, especially Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So I'm happy that you also had a first-hand experience, and I feel that's one area which is going to flourish in the times to come because it is getting regulated and it has all the right attention from the rulers of the Emirates. So I think good times to come in the region. So thanks for giving your viewers a first-hand view also of your trip from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of development and acknowledgement about digital assets and how it can support the country and the world. And so I look forward to hopping back over there to meet some of my business contacts and seeing how I can, support that community as well. So why don't you go ahead and share the name of your company and how you got started? Because I'm really excited to kind of do a deep dive into what you were doing today.
Right, thanks. So my company is called PrimaFelicitas. This started almost 9 years ago, 9+ years actually now. This was a time when I was based in London and I was working for a giant multinational company back in the day for companies like 3M, BASF. I was heading sales and marketing first, based out of India. Then I was heading the South Asia region, and then this final assignment was for one of the competitors of 3M based out of the UK. And so I moved there for a global role, global marketing, product management, and technical services. So I did that role for a good number of years. And in 2013, we decided to come up with this venture while we were there. And my co-founder, Preeti, she has almost 25 years of enterprise applications background. So, she left her job. So this was a CRM Next, where she was actually employee number 8. And so all the major banks, financial institutions here in India, South Asia, Middle East, and last she was working at Wells Fargo Integration is when she left. So when we started this venture in 2013, our focus was primarily on the enterprises because those were the kind of clients Preeti was dealing day in, day out. So we started working for folks like Microsoft, Accenture, Capgemini, KPMG, etc., doing POC and other projects for them. And whilst we were doing that in 2016, we were approached by Accenture for a small project at HSBC in London. And this was a time when the Brexit had been announced, and banks and other major businesses in the UK were trying to understand the implication on their business after Brexit. And so this particular bank at that point wanted to explore using blockchain as a means of doing trade finance. So we were involved in this POC for a while, and we learned a lot of things while we were, involved in the project. So much so that we decided to put a blockchain practice into the business, which has grown on to be almost like 98% of our revenue today. I would say almost entirely, we still hold on to some of the older clients in the ecosystem, but rest everything in the past 7 years, what people associate with blockchain, centralized, decentralized wallets, payment gateways, insurance on blockchain, healthcare on blockchain, supply chain on. So all of these products, we've been building for the past almost 7 years. Several of these products are in production, others in various stages of evolution. So that's been our journey. And I would say last, 18 to 20 odd months, we've been doing a lot of work in the NFT DeFi space, because obviously that's been the trending theme. So we've been working a lot on that. We are in 3 locations: San Francisco, London, and Delhi. Delhi obviously is the tech center, and San Francisco, London are sales offices. I went to Stanford, for my master's in business, and that is how the Silicon Valley thing came about whilst I was there. Whereas the other 2 offices just naturally sort of grew of the need for the business, right? So that, I think, has been the background, Jacqui.
So I want to ask you, at times to define things, because I have a variety of listeners, both those that are very experienced in the blockchain as well as those that are new to the space. And I see a visual behind you, but I'm going to ask you to share the that similar, you have a PowerPoint that I think has some really great visuals. So I'm going to ask you to share that so we can kind of have a conversation about that. I also love, as you're sharing it, the fact that, we've had conversations off of the recording. You're a tech development company, so we talked about that. When companies come to you, and those that are experienced or those that are new, how do you onboard them? How do you find out what their needs are and then figure out the budget for them? Because there's all different levels to this.
Yes. To basically give you a spectrum, we start at a very, very early stage, right from the times when people just have an idea. So we have had instances of people come to us and say, we want to build a Facebook on blockchain or a Twitter on blockchain. So that's a very, massive endeavor. If you wanted to build a social media platform on blockchain, first of all, these platforms were not built in a day. They were built over years. Right. So we need to first, start to break it down in terms of what we really need to have in the first release and then later on. And so what we do is we sit down with these founders and we basically brainstorm. First, get their understanding of what they wanted to do. And then we start to make suggestions that, hey, I understand this is what you want to do, but technologically, maybe this is not the right approach. How about this? How about that? And this is how it's going to solve your problem or the market you're trying to address. So it's more of a conversation and helping them, give the complete, groundings of what actually is possible and how the industry is moving. And perhaps they might have come up with a specific protocol in mind, but we might end up suggesting some other protocol because that maybe suits their use case better. So right from that stage to actually developing it, and then later on doing a complete security or analysis audit, and then securing the application. So everything to do with cybersecurity, and then later on running the application. So oftentimes running is just one initial piece. It is all a function of how many users on the platform. So for instance, one of the products which we launched 3 years ago, the client had at a max 5,000 users at for the first 6 months, and we breached that number within 1.5 months. So the infrastructure was not ready. So, but luckily 2 weeks prior to the spurt, we spotted and we suggested that, hey, I don't think this infrastructure would be ready. If you don't do, system is going to collapse. And so we very quickly upgraded the system and then started to do performance optimization, performance tuning to set it up, and then very quickly migrated to the new system. So the complete infrastructure consulting in terms of what is it that you should be going in the first phase, and then how do you subsequently continue to make, additions to it, because obviously this infrastructure is expensive. So if you just say, hey, you know what, let's plan for 50,000 users, and you will not reach the 50,000 user mark for the next 18 months, but you're paying for that, so this is an expensive affair. So trying to basically optimize all of that. And then once the application is running, how do you make sure that you are maintaining it, and then bringing all the security patches and continuously upgrading the system. So right, as I said, from the initiation stage to actually running the business, we provide everything in between. And in terms of the onboarding, as I mentioned, I think it is absolutely critical for us to spend that initial time where we are actually going through this discovery process, where we understand the client's need and we go back and forth, back and forth. And the outcome of this initial phase is actually a detailed 20-30 pages specification document. Once the specification documents is ready, it's very easy, because we give it to our development team, and the development team just basically follows. We never ask our developers to second guess or imagine or do anything. We just say, just follow this script and build what is written in it. So it just ensures a seamless process.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead? I know I kind of distracted you when you were
No.
but no, that was perfect. And that actually explains a lot of what the blockchain is. It's a map of instructions. So for those that might not be familiar with it, and the protocols he was talking about, are what we might have called in earlier days as the websites. But again, protocols are also connected with the blockchain. So why don't you go through, and there are charts on here that I think are really important for everyone to see.
Yes, so this is basically like a small story that I mentioned. Some of the things that we do, Web3 is obviously very popular, but we've been, the name Web3, it probably just came about in popularity, I would say last 12 to 18 months, but obviously this thing has been there for a good number of years. So we've been building within that ecosystem, then NFT, DeFi, the number of crowdfunding platforms, which means where people can buy and sell, their tokens initially when they're doing fundraising. And then, as I mentioned, exchanges, both centralized and decentralized, and wallet applications and custody solutions, then payment gateways, then decentralized applications, a number of decentralized applications for that matter. And then, as I mentioned, the security side of things. So this is obviously the background. We've been, pretty much technology agnostic. And the reason why I say that is because over the years, we have had clients come to us and ask for all sorts of exotic, chains to build their applications on, Tendermint, Mixin, credits, and, all kinds of chains. So what we ended up building was a capacity internally where people can just take on the core ethos and principles of blockchain, and whatever blockchain comes in, you just throw at them and they're going to build it, because they know how to sort of structure things and how to build on top of specific language protocols. So that has been our journey, and that is how we became agnostic. This is a background, as I mentioned, went to Stanford and IIT. So engineer plus a business guy. Preeti is a thorough, through and through technical person, and that is how, as I mentioned, a lot of strength comes within the business. Short overview of how we do. So as you can see, this is the UK office, then India, and then later on SF. I mentioned earlier on, 2016 was a year when things, changed for us in terms of moving to blockchain. So that year, as you can see, our revenue in blockchain was, 20%, and last year this is the revenue, 98%. Right. So we are, as I said, we are holding on to one or two of our key clients who we've been working all these years. But other than that, everything has been into the blockchain space. This has been obviously the growth of the technical guys within the blockchain space, and the 92% is the customer retention. So which I think some of the things which I'm extremely proud of, these numbers here. And then again, these are some of the top projects. Not everything is listed here. So this is a AI-enabled NFT marketplace. This is an exchange which has algo and social trading. Then this is a decentralized exchange. Then another one is on a multi-blockchain protocol. So this is on the 0x, this is a multi-chain. Here, this is a very, very interesting device, application. So you have a mobile app, and on that, you're obviously using a number of variables. So variables are integrated to your app, and then based on your healthy behavior, steps and eating, and there are a lot of parameters which this device is tracking. And so based on that, you start to get rewards in the native token. And you are basically, obviously, there's a social angle. So you're obviously getting ranked versus your peers as well, who are in the same, bracket. And so this is that whole concept of, taking the play to earn to a different level. It is like learn to earn or health to earn, or, we are still trying to figure out what is a good name for it. But that's basically the idea there. Then this is for blockchain, data storage and all kinds of certificates on the blockchain. So here you can not only save, but you can on permission retrieve and wherever you are. So this includes marriage contracts, commercial contracts, birth and death certificates, a lot of things. So imagine people getting dislocated, right? Refugees and all sorts of crises. This platform can provide a seamless movement for people affected by such calamities, right? Then this is a specific e-commerce crypto gateway, but this is single point but multi-crypto. So again, I said this is just some of the projects, not everything.
No, it's this is a great overview. This is definitely something that I wanted to share with everyone. I know you and I had talked about this off the recording prior. When you're different countries have different KYC, know your customer requirements or legislation going on. So how do you navigate, because you have clients from all over the world to include the United States, how do you navigate the legalities and what's your role and what's the customer's role in knowing where to go and how to do this properly? Because some parts, when it first started off, in the crypto space, things weren't as regulated as they are now. So it's constantly evolving. And as a result, it gets very confusing for people. Sometimes what they're doing 1 month might be okay. And then all of a sudden something comes down and all of a sudden they realize that they have to kind of do a scramble. So how does your company deal with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question, Jacqui. The first thing is, yes, this market is evolving, and I think there are jurisdictions which at certain point were very attractive, and they had obviously all the right ingredients, and so businesses were moving in, and then over time, for whatever domestic political reasons, or just that the policy shifted to some other region, they did not keep pace. So I can have, some of the prime examples: Singapore, Japan. They used to be like prime locations. Now they're obviously falling behind for a number of reasons now. And of course, some of these smaller countries, Estonia, Malta, Cayman Islands, all of these things are sort of picking up. So they're trying to become the Delaware of sorts, trying to attract all kinds of, good crypto companies. I mean, in our role, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, and I think that's where I partner with firms like yourself, Jacqui, and other people in different areas where they have a lot of legal expertise within the business. When clients come to us, our initial obviously consulting phases where we give them some idea about what all things are possible and some of the areas they can consider, but obviously it is always followed up by a sound consultation with a lawyer. So the lawyer is where they basically get all the information from before they're deciding what should be the next step for the business.
Yeah, no, I know that, as you mentioned, being a lawyer myself, it's this is a space that's changing both state in the United States, both state by state, as well as within the federal side as well. So it is important as companies are using a service such as yourself and creating platforms. as you are investing in the creation of the platform, you also need to be investing in the legal analysis of what do you need to do to stay compliant? Because again, if you don't stay compliant, then you're not going to be able to operate your business. So,
No, totally. I mean,
yeah, and one more thing before I kind of pop it back over to you for a second too, is even though everyone who is in this space might have good intent, there are bad actors out there. So it's not just about how do you create a business that has a good outcome. You also, like you've mentioned, you have to provide, once your business is up and running, how do you navigate the, not so much the hacking, but the misuse of sometimes the platforms that are there. And that's one of the reasons why I added another certification to my hat in terms of cryptocurrency investigator, because the blockchain, as you've mentioned, is very visible. You can see every movement that's on it. And just like with the document storage, that's for very good use. But just like you can move money around, you might not know who the actor is, even though there can be other factors that you can figure it out. But so businesses need to think both before, during, and after. How do you stay compliant all around the world? Because we're one large community, and even though we happen to have boundaries and borders, we are the idea that we can financially move funds from one country to the other without an exchange right now, because you're keeping it in a cryptocurrency, to me is amazing. From the fact that I don't have to exchange my US dollars to euros, I can just go from one to another and make a purchase. That's a plus as well as a minus, in the long run. But again, that's a whole nother conversation. So I'm going to go back to you.
No, I mean, this is a good overview, I think, Jacqui. And what I would add is, whilst we are doing all this consulting and, especially the legal angle, it can oftentimes be a make or a break issue as well, because, imagine the client hasn't considered the legal aspects of it. And the business does require a very comprehensive legal solution, which means perhaps a license or if you are going to be dealing in some kind of custody, you definitely need a full-blown license. But the client did not obviously think about it. So what happens is when they come and we explain to them the cost could be upwards of 200K, sometimes that could be a make or a break situation for them. They have to go back to the drawing board, maybe make changes to how they want to approach custody or want to change the solution itself. And if they do want to go down that route in terms of using it in the initial scenario, then obviously they need to have that additional money arranged. So this is absolutely critical. This is one of the initial assessment areas for us when we are doing the business feasibility analysis, that okay, this is a business case. Now, how is this business going to deal with cryptos? If you have your own token, how are you going to store those cryptos? The moment there is a custody, then have you thought about the license? And if so, where are you thinking? And then have you considered the cost of the license? So all of that basically just adds up.
Yeah. So go on to the next slide, because you have a lot of great information and I want to make sure we cover all that people need to know to reach back out to you. Also, why don't you mention right now, how can people contact you?
Yeah, I mean, contacting me is very simple. As you can see, it's PrimaFelicitas.com, PrimaFelicitas.com. That's the website. And my name is Anurag. So ANURAG @PrimaFelicitas.com. So if you can send an email, obviously, that's very easy. Otherwise, you can also find me on Twitter and Telegram. And I'm going to share those, details at the end of the presentation as well. But yes, those are some of the places where you can find me.
Yep. And when you are contacting him, just let him know that you learned about the company, through our talk show. So that way we can also get feedback as well. All right. What's the next slide that you want to share?
Okay. So this is obviously, I guess, yeah, this is the same image that you see in the background. This is again at a very high level what we do. So obviously token sales platforms, smart contracts, auditing. This is a very big service that we offer. So a lot of the projects come to us for getting their smart contracts audited, because security obviously is absolutely paramount, especially when it comes to DeFi and some of the other financial and capital market related products. Then NFT is, as I mentioned, last 2 years it just blossomed to a point where it has become hugely big within our portfolio. So NFT and DeFi aspects, I would say, contribute almost 40% of the overall business portfolio, if I can just basically try to segment there. But I guess you get the gist.
So
Centralized, decentralized exchange.
explain to us more what's going on in the metaverse and how you're, because that's an area that's also evolving, and just like the NFT space has become very popular. I'm seeing more and more commercials now about metaverse. And so explain a little bit from your perspective what you're doing and how you're supporting that.
Yeah, so metaverse, I would say a lot of work that is happening is in the Web2 gaming, moving to Web3. So that is where we see a lot of shift. And of course, some, crypto native, applications also within the metaverse space. But what we have seen is they're trying to add a loyalty, they're trying to add a crypto angle, in terms of the token economics, how to make it very exciting. And then, of course, all the in-game avatars and some of the other, things which they are obviously finding popular in other applications, so trying to bring in there. So I think there is this huge migration of successful games moving into Web3, which is where a lot of this metaverse is obviously getting, consumed. But of course, a lot of enterprises have started to think about it in totally different ways to deliver services to their clients. So, for instance, within the, digital twin space, where you have, a complex machinery, and on the other hand, you are obviously having a replica of that, and you are able to play around with it and understand how to obviously, let's say, maintain or do some things if the system has broken down. So I see a lot of these crossover happening with the traditional industry. And of course, newer businesses are coming up, but the concepts have been primarily along the lines of what we used to have, the Roblox and some of the traditional applications, where you have these platforms, you can go and buy land, you can do all these specific things. But a solid use case in terms of actually tying it back to a real world, I think that process is still ongoing, right? So you have all these cool tech, which they're trying to combine, but how is that going to deliver a very solid real world use case? I think that probably is going to take a little while.
Okay, why don't you go on to the next few slides, because I want to make sure that we have explain to me these technologies and everything from chain analysis to Cardano. There's such a variety of names on here. What does this slide represent?
So basically, this gives a snapshot of some of the core technologies that we have worked on. And as I mentioned, the work in these technologies is a direct function of clients coming to us and asking, hey, I want to do something on Neo or Stellar or EOS. And so whether we have done work on this technology prior to this client coming to us or not, doesn't matter. So we go back to the drawing board, look at the technology stack of Stellar, and then start to put the right engineers to task. So we have that technical breadth and the depth to deal with all kinds of protocol. And that is the reason I call ourselves, technology stack agnostic, because I mean, as much as this looks very big and, wide, when you start to reduce it, you'll probably see just 3 or 4 key technology stacks, because after that, just making small changes here and there in the top level language and some of the other things, but the core remains the same.
Yeah. What about the next slide?
Yeah. So this, I think, maybe Jacqui, you have a presentation, I think a one pager. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Let me stop sharing and let you
Yeah.
share it.
So
Yep.
what I love about that slide and what I'm about to share is it gives a quick overview summary as to, whoops, it is. Let me go back over. I was following along on my side, so I will go back over to the short summary here. So this is like a real overview in terms of, where you started and the services, the scope of your services. And, as we talked about, at the beginning of our conversation, you do initial tech and business consulting, and you have, definitely individuals or organizations that you can refer to in case, there's an area that might not be in your area of expertise, but I'm going to continue on going down. These are the areas that you are definitely focusing on. So are there new clients that you are looking to develop or onboard? And again, mention again how people can reach you as well.
Yes, so we are definitely adding new clients. So what happened in the last 12, 18 months, the business expanded exponentially, because obviously everything in crypto was going up. So we added good bench strength, and so we are now open to accepting new projects as well.
So how do people find you?
Yeah, people can definitely check our website. First of all, PrimaFelicitas.com, PrimaFelicitas.com. And my name, as I mentioned, is Anurag, Anurag. So Anurag at PrimaFelicitas.com. And yeah, you will land an email into my inbox.
So everyone who's listening, definitely, there are, if you have an idea and if you're thinking about developing it, it's important to find companies that can give you a plan of action and are aware of the technical as well as the legal side to kind of navigate this. It's really important to do your own research, because again, there is a lot to when you're looking at services and then creating a product. It takes from start to finish a lot of people and a huge team. So you want to make sure that you have a credible team behind you. Everyone, I will embed the contact information so you can reach out and see if if this company is a company that will work for you and your projects. Again, everyone, remember, like and subscribe. I have a lot of other conversations that will be popping out next week. I'll be traveling to Los Angeles. There's an NFT Expoverse conference that I'm going to be at. I'll be speaking, and I'll also be talking about my book, The Bitcoin Cinderella. But in the meantime, everyone, remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We are all connected. We're all part of one world. And I appreciate everyone for being on today. Thank you so much and have a great day. Talk to you soon.